Welcome to the Threshing Floor Podcast, your premier destination for discussion and commentary on the redemption trading card game and its community. Kick back and relax as we catch you up on the latest news, tournament results, and deck building strategies to take your game to the next level. Now, here are your hosts, John Hendricks and Ager the Wise.
That's right, that's us.
Yeah.
Here we are with another
Take your game to the next level.
brand new episode of your favorite podcast. It's hard to believe we are rounding. We're getting to that nice round number. We're close to rounding it off at 100 episodes. So we're at episode 89. So
Whoa.
I don't know what we'll do when we get to that point, but it feels like we should do some kind of celebration.
Something special. What if the elders made us a card for the 100th episode? Whoa.
Whoa, maybe,
Whoa.
but the elders aren't that cool, are they?
Nah, man, they
Nah.
wouldn't do that. They wouldn't bless us that way.
Reverse
man.
psychology.
Exactly, yeah.
They
yeah,
wouldn't.
yeah.
They're not that cool.
They're not
Gabe
that
would
cool,
never
man.
do something cool like that.
They wouldn't
Which,
show themselves.
Funny
that
enough, at Nationals last year, from where he did the test run of foil cards, Gabe gave me a foil threshing floor where they had tested it out as a foil.
That's
so I do have
awesome.
that. I don't know if I've mentioned that on the podcast or not, but I have that. It's in my my collection of things that I will never give away. So at least I have a foil threshing floor that
There you go.
I could throw into non-official decks.
Mm-hmm.
But I am in a great mood for
Yes.
this podcast recording. Had a lot of good stuff happen this past week. So I'll start off with a little bit of personal stuff. I put in the prayer request channel not too long ago something about my job and potentially changing or getting some additional responsibilities or something. And I have to say that the way that the conversation went with the owner of our company, I'm a little flabbergasted at it because literally he told me he doesn't want me to do anything else right now. He said, I don't want you to do anything else. We are probably going to do some shifting or realignment moving forward at some point, but right now I just want you to continue doing what you're doing. I'm 100% great with what you're doing. Just keep doing it. But then, and this is the thing, I work a ton of overtime, or I have in the past. Like I've had weeks or our pay periods. We do 2-week pay periods. I've hit 150 hours in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Before. So it's been crazy, and we're at the point now to where business has slowed off a little bit, but a lot of it's because we've created efficiencies and things, so the need and the demand for overtime is not as high. That's been a blessing and a curse because I have more time on my hands, but I have less pay because being an hourly employee. So he told me to keep doing what I'm doing. He said he wants to revisit at least in a year. So the launch of the Amazon product that we are going to be a distributor for, and maybe doing some installation work for their satellite product, their satellite internet product. Anyway, all of that's going to happen in the last quarter of the year, and so we're a good ways away from seeing the fruits of that contract. So he said once that money starts flowing in, he wants to review and talk with me, but I am now an official salary employee. So,
Wow.
And he told me that he wants me to continue to be able to make good money and not feel like I'm leaving things on the table because I don't have the same ability to work overtime or whatever because the demand's not there. So it's a small raise, not really that big of a raise, but the benefit is that I'm going to get my pay with a slight bump without having to work all of the crazy hours. So
That's nice.
that is fantastic.
That's
I
a
know that
blessing.
there's a lot of war stories people have about moving over to salary and then the demand for overtime being high or whatever. And this is literally the reverse of that. So
Wow.
I can't complain. So
God is good.
yep, it is definitely a blessing. So I am looking forward to that and the free time that I have. I've already found myself because of, the less need for overtime and things, having more time for hobbies and family things and all of that. But now to know that I'm not going to be leaving money on the table when I'm not working overtime and, when there's not a demand for it, is a good bit of weight off my shoulders.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I have that, and then I am like, I was already on a little bit of a high, had that conversation with the owner of our company on Thursday. Friday, I was out, and that was because I was traveling to the Tennessee State Tournament, which I did travel to this tournament by taking my car. If you followed that saga at all, I've posted a few pictures here and there, but for the first time, I took a road trip in the rebuilt car, and it did fantastic. Enjoyed driving it.
That's awesome.
I was driving probably way too fast with the windows down, sunroof open, all on the interstate.
Threshing Floor does not.
Yeah, we don't endorse
speeding.
Breaking the law. Okay,
but
I'm just saying, if you're driving fast and you have the windows down, that's a feeling you can't replicate. The only thing that beats driving fast with the windows down is being on a boat and riding with the yes. If
wind in your hair.
Yes. If you've never lost a hat on a boat, you've never lived.
I've never lived.
So, well, we're going to have to get you living, Jake. So I just wanted to share that. Had a great time at the Tennessee State Tournament. I do have one more kind of cool thing I want to give a shout out, but I'll stop here and see if is there anything you want to share here before we go too much of, I feel like I'm too far into personal things. So I'll just, you got anything you want to share before I continue rambling?
I had some lows this week, but God brought me through it, and I'm able to share that with other people, and it's just a blessing that, like, we have a good high priest who knows our frailties, our weaknesses, and he still loves us, and he's so good at forgiving. So I'm just thankful for God for that, and we're coming close up on the baby, man, under or about 6 weeks off. That's so crazy. So
6 weeks,
just blessed with that. And I just got to play a game of Redemption with my wife, so that was a lot of fun too. So
your wife played Redemption with you?
Yeah. It's she's very smart. She's very good at it, but she doesn't have the, like, it's not her thing, so she doesn't
she dislikes it, even though she might know how to play.
Yeah.
That's where my wife's at. Exactly. Now, I have been working with, and this kind of segues to what I was going to say, but I've been working with the starter decks and making like levels with the starter decks, so that's
what I did.
You play with the starter decks. Now we do level. So my wife has volunteered she's like, if you need me to, I guess I will, but I just want you to know awesome. I won't enjoy it and I'll hate it. But if you need me to, then I guess I can do it, to test out some of those. But
yeah, I ran modified starter deck for us too. I changed up a little bit, add a few more artifacts and more dominance. Yeah. So yeah,
I think the issue with my wife is I tried to get her to play, and she did play early on when I first found the game, or started trying to get Keegan into it, maybe a couple years down the road from when I first found it, and that was when like classic cards and everything. So it was just so many different things firing off, and she was just like, this is too much. I'll play a game of Pokemon maybe, but I can manage my bench. I can't manage all of this. But what I was going to say, the other thing is I got to drive over to Mississippi and hang out with my buddy Eric that traveled with me to the Kentucky State Tournament. So anybody that was there met him. He's 57 Beef on the Discord.
57 Beef.
But I went over to his church. They were having a hangout day and just letting the kids come and play Redemption. And he's already got several kids interested and excited.
That's awesome.
They're like, they have a version of the starter deck, and they're working on collecting their root set and buying some packs and changing up their deck or whatever. So it's kind of a little bit of a hotbed situation to where he's got these kids buying it up, and
that's awesome.
They're already plugged in. I met I believe he's the youth pastor at their church. Him and his wife were there. They're interested in learning how to play the game and being a part of it and everything. So I think we might end up having I think at this point we're probably at, I don't know if Eric's in agreement, but I think we're at 100% that we should be able to have the first ever Mississippi State Tournament this year at some point.
That's awesome.
And we're going to obviously invite them over to when we do our Alabama State Tournament, which I put in an application for that. It's been approved. I've got the stuff here at the house for that. So really looks like we might actually we're definitely farther along in this process than I imagined when Eric first reached out and was like, "Hey, I need somebody to teach me the game of redemption." I was like, "Well, you're 2 hours away. Hey, let's talk." So it's kind of nice to see that, you know, there might be a solid foundation for a play group within 2 hours from us, and then Brad and myself, previous co-host here at the podcast, trying to get some interest here locally as well, so we can within 2 hours travel back and forth. That seems to be going great. But yeah, did you know? We'll just change gears here abruptly. Did you know we're recording this on Sunday? We're going to break the fourth wall down because we have to. Because do you know what today is?
I do know what today is. Pastor even mentioned it right before the sermon.
Oh, okay. So go ahead and tell the fine people out there what today is.
Yeah. It was funny the way he mentioned, he's like, you know, I wanted to say this after the sermon, but I think the sermon's going to be good, so I don't want you to lose your mindset. So let's just get this off at the beginning. May the 4th be with you. It's Star Wars Day, May 4th.
Yes.
And then he gave a great sermon, so I forgot all about that until now. But yes, May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. So in a galaxy far away here, this let's not let it get into a debate. Hopefully we have some synergistic feelings here, but I did put kind of a cool thing here on the outline is I wanted to ask you what your favorite Star Wars movie is.
I think it has to be Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
Okay. So that one is acceptable as an answer. Mm-hmm. So I will take that. You know, if you hadn't said that one, that might be the one I would say.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I would like to flip it around.
Oh, okay.
And then you can answer as well. But you gave probably a consensus idea of maybe best movie. The worst movie, and I have to say, the worst movie, the worst movie is the second of
the recent trilogy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is the name eluding me right now?
I don't know.
It's the one where Leia force like swims through space.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my goodness, that movie is awful. I mean
so basically I'd say it like this: the first trilogy is the best, the second trilogy is okay, and the third trilogy I like as a movie. The third trilogy
should be balled up and thrown away for the most part.
I like it as a movie. I do not like it as Star Wars. Like, if you just told me it was a random movie that you detached the Star Wars canon from it, and you said, "Oh, this is just a random sci-fi movie," I'd be like, "Okay, that's not amazing, but it was worth watching in a movie theater." The fact that it was Star Wars made it hurt me because I'm like, "Why did you ruin Star Wars?"
I used to like this.
Oh man, exactly.
Yes.
So yeah.
Now, here's the thing that Keegan and I debate all of the time, and he tells me that I'm wrong, but I believe there is one Star Wars character that stands head and shoulders above the rest, and he is the single greatest Jedi that has ever walked the face of any planet in the galaxy, here, there, far, far away. I don't care. Who do you think is the greatest Star Wars character?
So on 3, we're going to say it together. Okay, are you ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Jar Jar Binks.
No. You got me.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. No, you're right. No.
You got me.
Hello there. Hello there.
Missa, you saved my life.
Oh my! Crazy.
The comedic relief attempt at him is even bad because at a certain point, like, the comedic relief leaves the room and you're just left with the annoyance that is him for several more hours of film between the movies.
There's a comedy sketch YouTube channel I like, and they did this thing where the guy, like George Lucas, comes to this guy's room and he's like, I wanted to apologize because I stole Star Wars from you. Like, I went back in time and you wrote this script for it and I stole it from you, and I made a few changes and I added Jar Jar Binks.
So that's how he got in there.
Exactly. That's how he got it. So it's just funny. I love that type of stuff.
Yeah. So one other thing before I ask you this last question, though. Star Wars, Star Trek. Are you big on Star Trek at all?
I'm big on Star Trek.
And which one do you like better?
Yeah, I like Star Trek a little bit more overall. Like, I think it's got a cooler, cleaner canon like setup.
Yes, probably. More consensus, like this is what is agreed upon and follows the same flow and stuff. But Disney buying things out will kind of ruin anything, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Star Trek has been ruining itself recently too with the newer series itself, as far as I can tell. I haven't seen all of them, but I've just seen too many clips of them. Like, what? Okay. But like back in the day, Voyager, Deep Space Nine. Well, people don't like Voyager, but I enjoyed it as a kid. Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise. The original series is good. Like all those things, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think for the most part, I feel like most people that like both of them seem to lean a little bit more towards Star Trek for whatever reasons. And I think probably the cleanness of the canon material and stuff, maybe that has something to do with it. I guess have not invested enough since I've been an adult into Star Trek. I just remember being forced to like go over to my uncle's house or whatever. My dad would want to go hang out with his brother, and they would put that on TV, and it was like the most boring and awful thing for a 8-year-old to have to watch. But I mean, I just haven't really invested any time. So I would say that Star Wars though is definitely higher for me, but maybe not. That's maybe not an honest, opinion, because I just haven't invested as I've been an adult to like go back and revisit Star Trek. Speaking of spin-off, like you mentioned the new series for Star Trek and stuff, but spin-off series or movies, which spin-off thing from Star Wars is your favorite? And then what's your least favorite?
Yeah. Like, I haven't seen a ton of them. I haven't got to see Andor. I enjoyed the first season or two of Mandalorian. Like I saw, what was the one? Oh, Rogue One. That was really good.
Yeah, Rogue One was great,
maybe it's Rogue One or Mandalorian for me. I saw the Han Solo movie. It wasn't like impressive. I didn't like hate it, but it wasn't like it's the best ever. I haven't seen Bad Batch. I haven't, or whatever, the Clone. I've seen like a couple episodes of Clone Wars things, but I've not seen full seasons of it. So I can't really speak to a lot of Star Wars extracurricular stuff, but I'd say maybe Rogue One. Rogue One's pretty cool. Like the scene with Darth Vader is amazing, obviously, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say Rogue One I think is great, and I like it if you throw it at the beginning of the original trilogy or whatever, where it leads into. And I've done both. I've like looked online and found what people suggest is the greatest way to watch the movies, like in order. And I've watched them a few different ways, like, chronologically, and then also in order of release or whatever. But I think if you put that in chronological order, I think it fits pretty well.
Yeah.
The thing is, you don't know a lot about characters, and so you just you don't really understand a lot of it. I can understand it because I know about Star Wars as a whole, but like the general person that doesn't have, a wealth of knowledge about Star Wars or whatever, if you get used to these characters and then you go to the next movie and you're like, okay, now this movie is much older and I don't understand a lot of stuff or whatever. So anyway, I think that one's great. I also watched one of the animated series. I think it was Rebels, maybe.
Okay, Rebels.
Is that the one where, whichever one where Darth Maul comes back and plays a larger part in it? I believe that's Rebels. But anyway, that's enough about Star Wars, I guess. But anyway, as Redemption players, we are all nerds. So
yeah,
I some people might have been turned off by the opening conversations here with Star Wars in mind, but I would venture to say most people listening to this podcast are probably like, yeah, or like, you're wrong, this movie was better, or that one. And we do have, some redemption cards that bear a little bit of Star Wars with the original Storehouse image, having the two sons or whatever.
Oh, really? I believe that's really cool.
Yeah. Unless I'm tripping, which I have been known to trip and fall, but I think it's the.
It does.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Now I'm trying to see. Yeah. Okay. So the original one from, I guess, Patriarchs, it also had it. I was wondering if it was just a promo version or if it was the one there. So yeah, that is cool.
That is cool.
You learn something new every day, Jake. Which
you're telling me.
Of, before we go any further though, because I will forget, I do want to shout out our, sponsor for the podcast here. We are sponsored proudly. Hopefully that's Lucas. A two-way pride between both of us, but we are proudly sponsored by Your Turn Games. And we want to let you know that if you need to get any gaming products, if you need to get any, not just redemption cards, but they've got the custom wooden tokens that are made by the Jambi, I believe is how you pronounce his Discord name. Mm-hmm. They have those. I bought a couple of those when he was set up at Kentucky State. He has sleeves, mats, all kinds of stuff. So anyone that is newer to the game and wondering where you get all of the, the high-end fancy things that go along with it besides the cards, you can get all of that at Your Turn Games along with, the best singles market that we have for the game right now. There's contender decks, all of that. So that's just me telling you to go check them out. Find something you can purchase from them. Mm-hmm. There's something for everyone, and we definitely want to push some support to Andy to thank him for sponsoring the podcast here. Thank him for a lot of the giveaways that he does through the podcast, which...
Andy's a blessing.
Yes. Speaking of, and this is kind of unloading here for Andy if he listens to this podcast, but did you know that we are coming up on your 1 year anniversary with the podcast?
What? No way.
May 22nd of last year is when we released and announced that we were having a new sponsor, being Your Turn Games, and we had a new co-host, and we introduced a lot of these, cool sound clips that we use for the podcast. So we're coming up on it. So maybe we'll try to figure out some way to give away something or do something cool to, honor the anniversary of that 1 year to the, it depends on when we release again because our release schedule hasn't been great, but hopefully we'll get another episode in around that time in a few weeks. But yeah, almost been a year, Jake. We haven't fired you. You haven't quit. It seems like it's been working out.
It's been a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we will just jump right into it and go over some recent news and notes if you're ready to dive in head first.
Yeah.
Sit back and relax while we get you caught up on all the latest news and notes from around the game and the community.
Yep, here we are with some recent news and happenings. And I believe it's safe to say, even though we haven't seen anything quite yet, but I believe we can say that spoiler season is now upon us because we're starting to get a lot more information about things that are going to be forthcoming at some point in the next couple of months. So we have been told by Gabe that the images have been sent to Cactus for the new expansion set so that they will be printed in time for Nationals. So we are expecting a Nationals release of the set, which has been kind of the status quo the last few years at least. And so we are definitely looking forward to that. We haven't seen pretty much anything from the new set. We don't even know the name of the set, which I guess another one of those blessing and a curse type of things because we don't know. So it's a complete unknown, which is great. Mm-hmm. But then also as players, you get into that almost just, I don't know. I want to know because I want to know what I'm supposed to look forward to. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just a little bit of personal greed that we all have, but we are all excited to learn. And okay, fine. It might just be me.
It's just like, I want to know. I want to start brewing. I want to start making decks. Let's go.
And I am excited to find out what this set has in store for, the meta game and how it's going to, I think we saw IR coming off of GOC and we were all, I think, disappointed with it a little bit. And then II has kind of rebounded a little bit. It's been a great set, I believe, overall. It really brought a lot of cool and playable themes, maybe nothing that screams, oh, this is the new broken thing, but just solid overall, like archetypes and things that are playable. And then you find Joshua and you pair it up with something that had already come out, Thieves, and because they play a similar style, it pushes that deck overall almost to the forefront In fact, we'll talk about it with the meta forecast that it's viewed by most people as the top deck currently. And that came out of the latest set, and it's kind of shows that the improvement from IR to II, even with the more limited abilities and things that they're trying to do to control the power creep, has worked out well. And now I'm excited to see what the next iteration of, sets coming off of GOC where they're trying to tone it down and things, see how that looks. And we're so close. It's Nationals is, well, I have it in here somewhere later on. We'll talk about it when we talk about the upcoming tournaments and things, but I think we're 89 days away right now, crazy. 88 or 89 days at the time of recording here on May the 4th. We broke the fourth wall already, so you know what day we're recording. 89, I believe it is, days from Nationals. And at some point we'll get some spoiler information between here and there, I'm sure, but you're going to have the potential, maybe not you, so I hate to rub this on in your face since you might not be at Nationals. That 99% chance you might not be there, but for the people that are going to be there, they're going to have a chance to put these cards in their hands, and it's starting to feel real, even if we don't have the spoiler information yet on some of these cards or whatnot. So in addition to all that, with the new set, Gabe also mentioned that the Nats promos have been uploaded to go get printed, along with a new seasonal promo. And I'll put this in quotes.
Ooh.
I know you can't see me if you're listening on the podcast because we're not recording video, but I'm doing air quotes.
Yes, I can vouch.
Air quotes, a few other special items.
Whoa.
I don't know what a few other special items mean. I don't know any details about that.
We should brainstorm. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? Are they introducing a new soda, Redemption brand soda?
I don't know.
So many different things.
It better be grape flavor, though.
Exactly. Grapes of Wrath flavor.
The Grapes of Wrath soda. I don't know what it is, but I want it. Okay. I don't know what it is, but I've got to have it. Right. That's kind of the MO here. But in addition to all that, there's also new local and district promos being printed. So there's a lot of things that we don't know, but we know they exist or they're going to exist.
Yeah.
So it's like we haven't gotten the peek behind the curtain at all, but we've at least gotten to see the veil hanging there to say, hey, on the other side, there's something cool.
There's movement.
Yes, there's movement. And then, it's going to be like the Wizard of Oz. They're going to pull the curtain back and it's Gabe, just mad scientist back there. Him and Tyler.
That'd be awesome.
But that is exciting. I'm excited that we're at the point and we have confirmation that the set is going to be released at Nationals, and barring anything catastrophic, it should, based on the timing that they're getting it there. So I'm looking forward to that. But if you follow the conversation that started with Gabe teasing some of this, you'll see that something else has been happening in the spoiler channel. So
it's pretty big.
I feel like it is big. You want to go over this information?
I do want to go over this.
It's your boy, so why not?
Yeah, this is my boy. Baboony Tim has been blessing this community so much, and we're going to talk about more things he's blessing it. But right now, just for the spoiler area, he's been blessing the spoiler channel with his own spoilers of these Baboony Tim tokens. And
Tim tokens.
These are cool, man. These are lost souls that he's done some AI art mix-ups with the original art, and he's put his Baboony on all the faces of these souls, and they look so cool. They're so amazing. There's Harvest, there's Complacent, there's all sorts of lost souls. Go check out the spoiler channel. They're all over the place, but they are super cool. I love the Harvest token. That one's really cool. It looks like Jedi monkeys there, and we got the Lost Souls token, and he's got tokens for all the coolest Lost Souls. It's super exciting, and they look amazing, and he's going to be providing these for the first 100 people who register for Nats 2025. They're going to receive a Baboony blister pack full of tokens. That's going to have, each one's going to have a full set of the 15 tokens, and each blister pack will have a 15% chance to contain a foil Lost Soul token instead of one of the normal tokens. That's insane. Baboony is the man with all
Right.
the plans and ideas and like blessing the community. Like, he's not making money off this. He's just blessing this community with his time, his effort, his printings, all these things. This guy is amazing.
Yes, and I think this kind of started. A lot of this started with last year's nationals of the community kind of bringing something to the table of here's something, and maybe it even started before that with the first TJC Thomas J. Chambers Memorial Tournament that they had, where they had the angel tokens for Heavenly Host, I believe it was, and some custom play mats and things. Not that custom things haven't been happening a lot, because Rob M does a lot of that. Mark Valik does a lot of that, but bringing it to like nationals here, and here's a reward for, showing up and participating in nationals. And I think seeing the community rally and kind of come up with their own support pieces to push out to the community is cool. Now, and I know as we've seen these and we knew there was going to be 15 of them, the question on everyone's mind's got to be, how are we going to get these? And to know that all you got to do is register and be in the first 100 people. And you're not going to get one, you're not going to get 2, 3, and then have to collect and try to get them. You're going to get a blister pack of every one of them, all 15, just for being in the top, 100 people, or first 100 people to register. And that thing, 15% chance for them to contain a foil lost soul.
That's insane.
Instead of one of the normal tokens. So I'm guessing that means this information was provided directly from Tim. So definitely want to thank Tim for letting us be the platform to announce this. So this was exactly how he worded it, that it will be a 15% chance to contain a foil lost soul token. So I'm guessing that means that one of the 15 would randomly be foil, which then means that, okay, you got your pack, I got my pack. You have 7 of 15 is a foil for you, but 2 of 15 is a foil for me. Does that mean that now we're going to need to try to trade and barter to try to get a full set of foil ones? And I think our game could use more chase items and things, especially something like this where it's not official, but it is technically playable because you can use anything for your tokens.
Yeah.
So just imagine being able to bust out your swagged out deck. If you're Brian Jones and you've got every cool card in the game and you're letting everybody know with that big, thick swag binder, and you've got your deck built, and then you just start throwing down a full set of foil Tim tokens for your Meek Souls that you're creating with the Lost Souls card or whatever.
That's insane.
Right?
Yeah.
But this other thing down here, and this is insane.
This is super insane.
Because not only is there going to be regular blister packs for the Tim tokens, as I'm going to call them, but there's going to be a full foil pack. So that means that all 15 are going to be foil straight out of the pack when you open it. Now, this is the creme de la creme. This is the top shelf. This is it. Okay. Now, how do I get one of those? Because already the collector in me, I think about people like Gabe, Chris Fashman, Brian, Jeremy Chambers, Jaden Allstead, people that have these collections that contain a lot of these rare, chase elements. And I don't know where these are going to fall on the spectrum. It'll be interesting to see how people value them when they come out, but just knowing the rarity of this, because this is insane. So how do you get one of these packs? The winners of each category at Nationals, there's 6 categories, will be offered a foil Babooni blister pack, which contains a full foil set of the 15 tokens, plus a bonus exclusive token.
That's insane.
Which the art will remain a mystery for now.
For now, wow.
Immediately, what that tells me is I feel like somehow Tim has gotten information about a new soul potentially, and it's artwork from a card that isn't available. Whoa. Maybe, or it's the same art that's being used to spice up a card for maybe like the Nats promo. So like whatever the artwork is going to be on the Nats promo, it's going to be included here. I'm just thinking about ways and reasons he can't share that information or that image right now. And I might be reading too much into it, but I'm already excited. But this next line makes me even more excited, because it says less than 12 sets of the foil tokens will be made.
That's insane.
We have a pretty big community compared to 12 sets. I can already tell you that 12 sets within our community, as long as people are wanting these things, which I think they will, because I see a bunch of people playing the Tim sleeves. At Kentucky State, we had to give paper to one of the players. He was playing Jake Take or Take, whatever you want to call it. And he had Tim sleeves. And the player he was playing, where he was going to be taking their cards, had Tim sleeves. Yeah. And he was taking some of the cards he also owned, so we needed to find a way for them. So we had them write it down, and then we took the card. We were trying to figure out, I think we ended up having him turn it upside down in the sleeve, so he would be able to, so he would hold it, and the sleeve would look same, but the card would be upside down in his hand, just so he would know which one went to which deck, so that he can make sure he gave them back for, like card condition and things like that. But just because of the popularity of those sleeves, and they weren't the only two playing them at Kentucky State, so I mean, I assume these are going to be, something people want to collect, especially just knowing that there's only 12, or he says less than 12. I don't know what that means. Does that mean there's 11 sets, 10 sets?
Wow.
I'm guessing maybe he's printing 12 sets, but then he's taking maybe one or two of them and breaking them off to increase the chance of, or to do the chance of foil sporadically through the other packs.
Is he taking the other 6 sets and putting them into the other blister packs so they have the 15% chance to have a foil token?
That's what I'm. Yeah. That would be my guess based on this information, but less than 12 sets. So even if it is 12 sets, that's all there's going to be. I want them. I want them. Do you want them? I want them. I assume most people are going to want them. If you're going to play, souls that have, create soul tokens, why not have the friendly face of Tim on them?
Exactly.
So, and the artwork has looked fantastic on these. In fact, earlier he spoiled, I believe it was Complacent. And now, well, I said it was Drunk Tim, but he came back and was like, maybe it'd be better if it's Tipsy Tim. So now that's Tipsy Tim. Tipsy Tim is I won't foil Tipsy Tim, don't you?
Oh, think about this. Okay, so if it's a 15% chance and there's 15 full art lost soul tokens, he's just using one set and splitting them those among the 100. So that means he's going to have, 6 for the 6 categories, 1 split across, hopefully, I mean, this is what my guess is, 1 split across the 100, and then the other 5 would be his to give out for special reasons.
Yeah.
So
maybe.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Look, 1 out of 12. This is more exclusive than the One Ring.
The One Ring.
That thing went for a lot of money. Post Malone bought it.
I tell you what, I know we're sponsored proudly by Your Turn Games, but I'll just say that Vitamin Water has a new flavor, Blue Raspberry Limeade. If anyone out there, if anyone out there likes Vitamin Water, if you don't, you're weird because you haven't tried this. I mostly drink water now, but I've been drinking a lot of this lately, and it's probably not the best thing, but.
Yeah, and I'm sponsoring this too. This is the only soda I drink these days. I quit drinking soda until I went to Brazil, and this is called Guaraná, and it's
That's why
amazing.
I didn't know what it was. I can't even say it.
It's a Brazilian soda. It's amazing. So check it out if you ever have a chance to. We found it in our local grocery store. So there we go. Those are our drink sponsors for today.
Yes. So if Vitamin Water or whatever the heck
Guaraná
he said wants to sponsor the Threshing Floor Random Redemption Gaming podcast, we've got room for you. We will run an ad, baby. I will run an ad if I can get a Vitamin Water for every episode. So our hydration is brought to you by those drink sponsors who just got free advertisement. Either that or we're going to get sued now for painting them in a bad light because they're like, we were on that jank podcast. But anyway, I'm excited about the foil tokens. I'm excited about the tokens overall. I think it's really cool. But that's not the only thing that Mr. Tim has been busy with. Tim has been ridiculous. He's been on a tear competitively, but not only that, just giving back to the community in various ways. So I'll let you run this one. This is I'm super excited about this. I used this for my tournament that I went to in Tennessee for my deck list, but I'll just let you share the information here.
Yeah, so Coding Master Tim also built a new tournament tracker. You can find it on the Land of Redemption. And basically, it's got a way to run your tournament, do pairings. It's also got a deck list generator. One thing I was mentioning to Tim at Nats as we were like rushing to write out our deck list right before and I was like, can't we just have a computer like print this out like directly from a Lackey Plit? Like, and he figured out how to do it. Like, this guy is amazing. So you're able to upload your Lackey deck list into this deck list generator. It'll translate it into an actual deck list for the tournament and print it out for you. This thing's amazing. There's so much to be, but this tournament tracker has got so many different little tools. It's just really cool. So 3 thumbs up to Tim for this new tool for tournaments.
I don't know why you said 3, but I mean, sure.
2 thumbs up is not enough.
Isn't enough, but why stop at 3? Why not me and you both, and that's 4 thumbs up.
4 thumbs up.
How did you get? I'll give you 2 thumbs and 2 big toes up.
He's a baboon, so he could have 4 thumbs. Oh, you're right. Come on, let's go.
That's not what I was thinking, but okay. I mean, I guess. But baboons also throw their poop, so I don't know how much we want to keep attributing things. You just keep throwing foil tokens, Tim. Don't go down that other path.
Exactly.
Let's turn our attention to the most recent tournament results and see where players have stacked up since our last episode.
All right, so we've got some tournament results to go over. We kind of spotlighted some of these on the last podcast and let you know that they were coming up, but we are going to go over the results now because they are in the books, completed tournaments now, and probably the biggest one that is on the radar for most people is the first regional tournament of the tournament season.
Northwest Regional.
Now, the results for the regional tournament there in the Northwest feature kind of a surprise. I think we all, after the big win in Kentucky, thought Tim was going up there to just take it by storm, take it by force. What is it? The kingdom suffers violence and the violent take it by force. We thought the violence was Tim, right?
The violence was Tim.
And he went up there, and it ends up that he doesn't win, and that's because Chad France crafted this deck. He tweaked it, and he tried to build it in a way that it would answer other threats, but be a big answer to Tim's big clay deck, which, we talked about that and spotlighted it a lot on the last podcast. It's something that has to be reckoned with at a tournament where Tim's going to be there running it. Chad France was able to come out on top, so definitely congratulations to Chad for his big win. And Tim came in second there. Grayson Cox came in third. So that was Type 1, the main category there. Type 2, this is where Tim did get his win, right?
Revenge of the Monkey.
Revenge of the Boon.
That's what I wanted to say.
Anyway, so Tim came in first, came in first there for Type 2. Alan Gonzalez came in second, and Aiden Reisenbigler came in third. And I want to say I appreciate these guys and how well they do at tournaments, because I figured out how to say the Reisenbigler, and I feel confident in it. Alan Gonzalez is pretty straightforward, but there's been some names that were troublesome for a person that's terrible with names. So thankfully we seem to have it kind of under wraps here for the Northwest group. So that's cool. Teams featured Chad winning that, along with Titus Welch, Grayson Cox, and Matthew White paired up and came in second, and Alan Gonzalez and Aiden Reisenbigler,
nice.
The aforementioned, they came in third. In Booster, and this is he almost did it. You see it. He almost did the clean sweep. You've got Tim Estes there, came in first. Chad France is in second, and Alan Gonzalez came in third. In Sealed, Tim Estes, Grayson Cox, and then Michael Lasky.
Wow.
So he was almost the violent that took us by force.
Exactly.
But Chad was able to hold him off there in Type 1. Otherwise, looks like it was a pretty, profitable trip for him, racking up those R&RS points in various categories and things. And it's going to be hard to contend with someone like Tim in the competitive sphere, as long as he's putting in the amount of work that he is. But it's nice to see that someone who, and this is kind of part of, kind of what we have come to see from Chad is someone that tries to make sure his priorities are in line. Family man with kids and a wife, holding down not just a play group, but also being a youth pastor with that, dedicating his time for that, and then trying to do what he can to be involved and share information back with the community and things. Someone like him to be able to go into the quote-unquote lab and know what threat he's going to see and put in the work and be able to come out and put the result on paper that says that you can apply yourself and try to, even with all of that thing, as long as you keep your priorities in line, you can still beat someone like Tim. It just takes a little bit of crafting and, working your way around that. Just, I don't know. At some point, I'm sure we'll get a good idea of his mindset going into this tournament whenever he releases that deck list he mentioned for The Last Stand, I believe is what he was calling
The Last
deck.
Stand. It looks really good.
So whenever he puts that deck list out along with the write-up on it, I'm sure we'll get a little bit more insight.
We already had the deck list on the Discord, but I think he's going to give us a full detail of what his plans were.
And I think getting to see inside his mind, I think, as he was approaching this, could be helpful for other people who feel like, I don't know, it can be a little daunting knowing Tim's coming to your tournament and you're like, oh man, might as well give him first place right up.
But not Chad. Chad can do it.
Tennessee State.
I could tell you this is Tennessee State, and it looks like they had some really strong ringer come in here and clean up a lot of these events. This is really cool. So in Type 1, we have, trying to pronounce this name.
He's not usually getting announced.
Joan Hendricks. John Hendricks. First place, Type 1. Sean Severs, second place, and Tate Hunter, third place. Type 2, without John being there, Sean crushed it. Getting first place. Chris Fastman took second, and Luke Anderson, way to go, Luke, let's go, took third place. In teams, John Hendricks and Keegan Hendricks taking first place. Philip Anderson and Joseph Swinson taking second. Tate Hunter and Nathaniel Swinson taking third. In booster, John Hendricks strikes back again, taking first place. Luke Anderson, way to go, Luke, taking second, and Philip Anderson taking third. Brother power there. And in sealed, we have Tate Hunter taking first, Luke Anderson taking second, and Chris Fashman taking third.
Yep, it was a fun tournament. I was kind of hoping that I would get a shot at playing sealed, but we ended up running it alongside teams just for time's sake, not being able to split it off. So I didn't get to play sealed, but I was hoping to get to play that because I've been doing a lot of trying to craft that level system with the starter decks and things. I feel like I played enough starter deck stuff lately with new players and things that like give me a chance at sealed. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. But I didn't get to play that. But I definitely the categories I played. I mean I did well enough to win, but there was some solid competition. I did build my deck and I put the deck list out there. And I'll do a write-up at some point, but it's Clouds Over Philly. That's what I'm calling it. It's cloud-based, using a lot of the faith stuff from Cloud of Witness, using Cloud of Witness Moses along with Genesis, and I found a way to get him into a band where he sticks in battle, which I mean it's always been out there, but I just don't think I've ever realized it, and other people maybe have not realized that you can get him to stick in battle, because even if he comes in and then the band is negated and kicks out, his ability doesn't continue to impact the battle because it says while in battle. But finding a way to craft that, and a lot of the early refinement of that came from conversations with Chad France, sending him the list, having him offer some insight on that. It's always good to bounce a deck list, even if you think it's a solid deck. Just bounce it off of someone that you trust, their opinion on things like that. But it was a lot of fun. I ended up playing, Luke Anderson was on the take deck, and I built it thinking that I was going to be able to run through Joshua with the defense because of the chain weapons, like chaining the sequence of weapons to pick off my main thing is let me get rid of Joshua, hopefully with Joshua's sword on, and then let me get rid of Captain. And if those are in their discard pile, I can handle the rest of the game. The rest of the game becomes very much slanted in my favor. And so I was able to do that in that game, and it worked out great, having the Philistine armor bearer equip the sniper hero and then exchange to Feichel in reserve to do the same thing. Fantastic. Worked out well. My favorite evil character, Black Gold Outsiders, put in a lot of work for me. Had a lot of fun playing that deck.
Lackey Grand Prix.
We also have the final from the latest Lackey Grand Prix, and that saw Jaden Alstead win 5-4 over Jay Chambers. So tooth and nail right down to the end, 5-4. And I think this Lackey Grand Prix was important for a couple of things. I think we got to see a lot of people start to put together decks that, at least at the onset, this is the first Lackey Grand Prix I think that has direct implications on the tournament season or whatnot, because we are starting to see some state tournaments. We just had our first regional tournament, and I think people are now playing decks that they feel like, for the most part, some of the, I don't want to say people were playing decks that they didn't really believe in, but I feel like there's a distinct difference in playing Lackey Grand Prix before we're into the heart of the tournament season, and then when we actually are in the heart of the tournament season.
They're a little just more casual up until then.
Right. And we got to see Jaden take, banishment. It was slim banishment then, and then the final banishing. I don't know what he's calling it these days, just banishment. But I got to see him take that deck and refine it through each, stage of this Lackey Grand Prix from week to week and then through Top Cut. And it ended up leading to him winning. So, and I know I think a lot of people acknowledge that he plays a lot of decks more for his content versus trying to be overly competitive with it.
Yeah.
But when he goes to the mindset of, hey, I'm going to be competitive, I think we're at, you get to see that dude still got it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was kind of cool to be able to see that deck in each stage taking on, the refinement and things. And it kind of, if you're a newer player and you have a deck that you like, you can see some of the way that he takes interactions in those games, because a lot of them are on his YouTube channel. I think most of them, if not all of them, are. And then you can just see how he took interactions in certain weeks in the games and then applied it to the next one to put out the more refined deck list. And I think that's beneficial for us to see as players. Previous national champ, somebody that's won a ton of categories at nationals, just kind of see the inner workings of their mind over several weeks, refining the same deck list. That brings us to some upcoming tournaments, and we'll just jump right in here.
Arkansas State.
The Arkansas State tournament is going to be May 23rd and 24th. This is going to be hosted by Jamie Kohler and Stephen Brooks. And these are two of the people that are hosting nationals. This one is going to be at the Brooks Residence in Lowell, Arkansas. Sealed is going to be $20. Booster is $25, and all other categories are $5 each.
Nice.
It's going to start at 5 p.m. on Friday and 9 a.m. on Saturday, so it's a 2-day tournament.
Idaho State.
Yeah, Idaho State Tournament, May 23rd and 24th. Hosted by Mike Lasky and Luke Taylor. Mike Lasky of the winning tournament fame. Which tournament was he at here?
Northwest.
He's at Northwest. And Luke Taylor at Underhill Gaming in Emmett, Idaho. And sealed is 15, booster 24. All other categories are free, gratis. It's going to be awesome. It starts at 9 a.m. on both days.
Yep. The Idaho group with Mike Lasky there and Luke Taylor, that group usually is what joins up with the Oregon group for the Northwest tournament. So they were included in some of the results there for the Northwest tournament, the regional tournament.
New York State.
We also have, and just because I don't know when we will get the next episode out, hopefully it's 2 weeks, but because we've been a little, sometimes it's 3 weeks, sometimes it's 4, I don't know. I wanted to go ahead and share the New York State tournament, which is the following week from those tournaments. This is going to be on May 30th and 31st. It's going to be hosted by our friend Mark Blake, and it's at First Baptist Church of Moravia in Moravia, New York. Sealed is going to be $12. Booster is going to be $25, and all other categories are going to be free. Starts at 5 p.m. on Friday and 8 a.m. on Saturday. And the word on the street is that the meals are all provided there. So
that's amazing.
You get lodging and meals provided. So no reason not to travel 16 hours if you're in Alabama, right?
No reason.
I'll go crank the car up right now.
I'll do it. Don't tip me.
So I don't know if that's in the cards, but it would be nice to be able to travel up there and hang out with them. We were planning to go last year and ended up not being able to for, I think it was Scroll Around the Block we were going to. And then there was some weather issues, and I've never driven in the snow, so I didn't want to drive through winter weather. No fun. But that brings us to the part of the program where we talk about nationals and the road to nationals. And like I mentioned before, I guess I think I mentioned it was 89 days, but I guess I'm wrong, and it's 88 days away, according to what I wrote down on the outline. So we're going to go with that. We're 88 days away at the time of recording. This tournament is going to be hosted by Jamie Collar, Stephen Brooks, Joshua Myers, and the famous Mr. Miyota at Rogers Christian Church in Rogers, Arkansas. Sealed is going to be $20. Booster is going to be $30. And all other categories are going to be $10 each. This event is going to start at 8 a.m. each day. And I believe just because we are already completely past the whole protecting the fourth wall thing, I'm going to open Discord real quick because there was an announcement about nationals from Jamie Collar about registration. So I just want to go over those details to provide that.
But man, nationals is looking exciting with this new Prince of the Air out there and these new decks that are coming out there. Like, I want to see if they'll let us. What if we can put Clouds Over Philly on the meta forecast? What if we can get Last Stand on the meta forecast? What if we see Big Clay keep on making waves? What's going to happen? This is crazy. Everything's up in the air. There's so many different ways you can approach this. This is going to be a fun nationals, I think. I wish I was there.
I think last year felt kind of, I won't say wide open, but it felt pretty open. Like you could take one of several decks and do well with. And then we ended up, Nativity came out as the top deck at nationals in first and second place. But I don't think it was necessarily a guarantee that it was going to be. Okay, so he put on here that if you are, pre-registration is already open. I think it's been open for a little while. But he said if you are prepaying, so along with pre-registration, if you are prepaying, make sure that you fill out the pre-registration form first so that he can mark down so he can obviously know who is paying and then match them up. And he also said that he doesn't know everyone's Discord name, so he wants to make sure he gets the right payment assigned to the right person. If you've already paid without filling out the form, reach out to him so he can make sure that your payment gets marked down and credits the correct person and for their events. If you are prepaying PayPal, his PayPal is through a business account, so he's asking you to select friends and family so that he doesn't have to eat the 3% charge on the business side of things, or you can either just increase the payment by 3% to cover that. And then his PayPal will come up as ArtWolf26628. And the other thing is to be on the lookout for unofficial events to be added to the pre-registration form as we move forward. We're already planning to do Iron Man, a Carcassonne event. Do you know what that is?
The name sounds familiar, but I don't know what it is exactly.
I have no idea what that is. And then Luke Anderson is planning on doing a classic booster draft on Wednesday night before the tournament.
Wow.
So, and then he says it's 89 days to Nat. So between the two of us, it's either 88 or 89 days.
Exactly. It's somewhere around there.
Either way, we're expecting to have a great turnout there. Hope to see everyone there, but just keep up with some of these details as they're coming out. You can find all of this information on the in the thread for the 31st Redemption Nationals tournament under the tournament channel in Discord. And then, again, pre-registration is available. And we mentioned it last week, so I want to make sure we mention it again so it doesn't fall completely off the radar. That thankful to those guys for letting us be part of the pre-registration process. But we do have it on there that if you want to potentially, be drafted, which you don't have to do anything to participate, just, I guess, allow us to use your, what we just do it your like likeness. The NCAA, your name, image, and likeness. Exactly. But just if you want to be included in the draftable pool of players for the Redemption Fantasy Draft, we'll be doing the second one at the national tournament this year. And
now Dude, now I'm just imagining like that Key and Peele skit where like they have the college players like, this is Tim Estes, Baboony Tim from blah, blah, blah.
Hey, maybe we can put together some kind of funny skit and put it out there. I mean, your funny skit was actually drafting last year.
Jake Antonich, Nagger the Wise.
Maybe he was wise before he started drafting. But I do think that we're going to find some way to let some people in the community at least fill a couple of the spots for drafting players, and then we'll just kind of see how it goes. But just want to keep that on people's radar that it will be happening, and hopefully we'll have some fancy little trophy or something to give out to the winner so they can hold it until the next year, maybe a traveling trophy type of thing. But that is what we have. I do want to say that I tried to get results for the Texas State tournament. It also happened, and I'm not trying to, throw it out that those guys didn't share the details or anything. I'm not trying to like bash them, but I just don't have those results to share, or at least share in complete information to where we have the full placings and things. So I didn't share that here, but hopefully we'll be able to share those on the next podcast. Maybe we can get those results. So we don't have the results to share, but also as we move into this next segment where we're going to be giving you the updated, power rankings, I just want it to be prefaced that this is done without knowledge of what happened at the Texas State tournament. So whoever won Texas State, they probably deserve to be on this list at some spot. So I don't have them there, so it's not we're not trying to exclude them, but I just wanted to have the full results so that we could have the full picture of what happened there. And outside of that, they're not included. Hopefully we can get that fixed up for the next edition of the power rankings and the next time we share some results on the podcast.
And now it's time to find out where the hottest players in the game stack up in this week's power rankings. This is the top 10 redemption players right now, according to us.
According to us. Yep. So we're going to go over our current power rankings. And if you have a problem with these, blame Jake. Okay?
Yep.
That's what I'm going to say.
10.
At number 10, we have Sean Severs.
He is a solid player from the Tennessee Play Group. Does pretty well most of the time. Fortunately, I didn't get to play against him at Tennessee, so we didn't pair up, unfortunately. But definitely deserving to be on this list. Came in second in Type 1 and then 1 Type 2. And I believe, yes, those are the only categories he actually played because he was working and trying to participate in the tournament around his work schedule. So that's what we have there.
9.
At number 9, making his debut on the power rankings for the podcast. This is the first time we have had him on. I believe he's from the Idaho Play Group. Had a solid showing at the Northwest Regional Tournament, and that is Grayson Cox. I also believe maybe it was the first time for Sean being on, so definitely nice to see some newcomers to the list.
Some fresh blood.
8.
At number 8, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Jon Hendricks. John Hendricks.
Speaking of other, first time power rankings.
First time power rankings.
First time.
This guy, like, there's rumors about this guy. He went through this tournament with his clouds over Philly, and everybody is just talking about it. It's on everybody's tongues, on everybody's lips. It's whispered in hushed tones. He's basically Voldemort now. But this guy, he's the new up-and-comer, and we're looking to see him climb up these power rankings. We're very worried about this guy.
I don't know if everyone's talking about it, but I would like to toot my own horn a little bit. Just at the... just because I poke a lot about people and their deck titles, I feel like I have to, if I ever put a deck list out, I have to have a good title just because, or a deck name, just because I poked fun at other people, like your take. Yeah, it works for it, but it's, and now we got the cool little Jake
Simple and
take,
sweet.
but I felt like I had to bring a cool name, and I was coming up with so many cool names, I could have gone with the standard black and blue, but that would have been, terrible. But Clouds Over Philly, I think, is a fantastic name.
I think it's pretty good. It's explanatory, but also kind of got artistic. It's like some names are artistic, some names are explanatory, and you kind of mix both. Some names don't actually have anything to do with the deck. They're just names, But hey.
Yeah. I think it ended up being between that or Black Cloud. Both of those were there, but I think I decided on Clouds Over Philly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Black Cloud works too. So
There you go.
if you need your deck named, just send it to me and I'll come up with a name for it. I wonder if Chad named his Last Stand because he thought it was the last chance he was going to have to beat Tim. And then he ends up beating him, so it's like not the last stand.
Not the last stand.
We'll have to figure out whenever he shares that.
7.
At number 7 here on the power rankings and kind of holding steady, until we get results that change things a little bit. But we want to respect people that have, put in the results here and won at least some of these bigger tournaments. And that is Charles Loria, Tasmanian Devil, for winning the Massachusetts State Tournament, I believe it was.
I believe so, yeah.
Or am I wrong?
think so.
No, he won Connecticut.
Yeah.
And Massachusetts State Tournament, or the Northeast is all it's a
They're all
blur
the same
to me.
They're all
right?
they're all blurred together.
But they had another state tournament. I didn't have results for it either. So, I mean, it's possible that he has another win if he attended that. I don't know, but
He could have won the Texas State Tournament for all we know, too.
yeah, for all we know, he could have traveled, 20 hours or whatever it is and won that. I mean, definitely a capable player in that regard.
Yes.
6.
At number 6, we have Jonesy Booster Jones, Brian Jones. This guy's a menace. This guy's always cruising. He's always bruising. Love to see this guy on the power rankings.
Yep.
5.
At number 5, kind of here because just a collection of good results he's put together on the unofficial tournament circuit. We haven't gotten any real official tournaments yet for him, but I'm sure those will come. But holding steady here at number 5, we've got Jay Chambers.
4.
You got to have your sibling rivalry here. We have at 4, I Am Bread, Mr. Jeremy Chambers. Both of the Chamber brothers sticking here with spots 4 and 5, and they are a threat.
3.
At number 3, the it's an official position, but I don't know if people know that. But the producer of the podcast, that's the role we gave him in our Discord server for behind the scenes for the podcast. Anyway, helps out come up with a lot of these things. Maybe had to tell me that he deserved to jump Jeremy here. But sorry to put that out there, Jaden. But we've got Jaden Alstead, the jailer himself, who won the latest Lackey Grand Prix with a 5-4 win over the previously mentioned Jay Chambers. So they went tooth and nail to the end and came down 5-4 and won that. Again, you can go and see all the refinement of his deck list. But when he turns it on competitively, I mean, just get out of the way.
2.
At number 2, it's time to go ooh, because you got your baboony Tim here. Tim Estes taking up the second spot. This guy is always there in these power rankings, and he's always a threat. Just like a baboon will rip your face off, Tim might rip your face off with kindness.
1.
At number 1, this is the spot for the tree. See the tree, Chad France, who went toe-to-toe with the baboon himself. Now, I get that Tim traveled and he did great at this tournament in all the other categories, but it just felt right for the main category of our game being type 1. That's where a lot of the emphasis is placed a lot of times. And for Chad to be able to go into a game where, or into a tournament where he thought he was, going to have to overextend himself to try to potentially knock off Big Clay just because of how, that deck is just insane, and the amount of variance that it can overcome and things, and being able to build your deck in a way to go and answer that call, step up to the bell, and then come out on top. Just felt right for us to put him at the top of the power rankings here.
Agreed.
And to boot, I know that he doesn't have any big result recently here, but he is the greatest Lackey Grand Prix player of all time, right? So
Agreed.
Across all kinds of metrics. one of the best players in the game. Great deck builder, always giving back. Glad to see him get the result that he was shooting for there at that tournament, and just want to reward him with the #1 spot on these power rankings.
Let's go, Chad.
Let's take a moment to give away some booster packs from Your Turn Games as we announce the Player of the Month.
All right, since we knocked him down from first place to second place, even after doing well and traveling long distance at a tournament, maybe we'll throw a bone here to our boy Tim
lift him up.
Estes, Mr. Babooni Tim. Always at the forefront of the competitive scene now that he's come into the game. And I think unless he stops playing the game, I think that's always going to be the case at this point. I think we can just see he's one of those players who takes well to it. But it's also nice to know he's one of those players that's always trying to give back to the game, and definitely want to reward him for that.
Amen.
Here on the podcast. And I know that we just announced the winner for the last month, and we said we were going to wait and announce at the end of this month. But there's no point to wait. We already know who's going to get it for this month because of the contributions, not just the Tim tokens, which are fantastic, and filling our desire to have some spoilers with some of his own, thoughtfulness for the community to create something and give back, but also for the fact that he's giving back in a major way and something that I think this game has needed for a very long time to enable and empower other people to step up to the plate, to be tournament host and feel like they have a resource in their back pocket that's going to help make it easy for them. And then for the fact that you can create deck list in a much easier way now. There's just so much to be impressed with by this new tournament tracker that there's no way that we could not give it to Tim for this month. I don't think. I think it's just far and away. And that's all on top of, being the great competitive player. And I think the fact that we saw someone like Chad, share a little bit about having to apply himself a little bit, knowing that he had, company coming to his tournament that he wouldn't normally have with Tim coming up or whatever. And I think being able to push other players in the community competitively is also a boost for everyone, because it used to be that there was the John Early, the Red Dragon Thorn that everyone had to think about. And then you had, a run where it was Jaden, and then it was Jaden and Jeremy. And now it's, Jaden, Jeremy, and Tim. That's all good threats and whatever. And having some of those top level players to be able to push other people to strive for, whatever the next level of their play is, I think is important. So he's given to us on that front, but also giving back to the community in the way of providing this resource through the tournament tracker, providing these tokens. I mean, what else can you say about him?
There's so much you can say about him, but I think we covered most of them in today's podcast.
Yeah. We talked about him a lot on the last podcast. Now we're talking about him again. Babooni on our minds.
Exactly.
So we are going to make the official announcement that he is the player of the month. So you'll get 2 random booster packs coming your way from our friends at Your Turn Games.
Congrats, Tim.
This episode of the Threshing Floor Podcast is brought to you by our friends at Your Turn Games. If you are in the market for singles or sealed product, you won't find a better selection anywhere else. They also feature some of the best custom products the game has to offer, with their selection of pre-built challenger and contender decks, along with their rotation grab bags. Visit yourturngames.biz for all your redemption gaming needs. Now, back to the episode.
Felt like a good spot to just throw a bone to the sponsors here. We got that ad made and we haven't used it too much, so I'm going to have to find a way to start incorporating it a little bit more. But I think we're moving right along here on this outline. I think the next thing that we're coming to is one of the new tools that we've, kind of helped orchestrate, mostly you, again, and with collaboration from the community.
In collaboration with the Z Temple Discord, we now turn our attention to the Meta Forecast to see where the top decks rank based on voting from the players themselves.
The Meta Forecast. So This is your baby. You've got the results. You've got the data. I'm just an innocent bystander here on the street, ready to get shot with some details that I can use in my deck building. So what you got for us, Jake?
Gonna shoot you with some details here. So we have our April results coming out recently, and to as a upfront, I want to say, hey, we would love to have more input. If you're interested in adding your opinion to this, we'd love to get more data points.
I'm
because
sorry,
we're tracking
Jake.
this every.
I
What?
haven't voted in the last two, but it's because I keep
Oh
forgetting.
man,
It's not because I'm not trying to participate. I just keep forgetting. So you're going to have to directly, hey,
and remember,
go and
this is
fill
a
it out
fast thing.
right now.
This is Google. This is Google results thing. It's super fast. It's super easy to do. Like 2 or 3 minutes, and you'll be done. If you're just going through real quick on these things. So just gonna give you our April averages, our April poll results this week. So again, Joshua Thieves take in first place, but it does take a small dip here, losing a couple points, going down to 9.23. Still number one. Seems to be everyone's thought as the boogeyman for the format right now. Nativity Herods as a considerable, took a little bit of actually a little bit of a boost here. It went to 8.68, but it was second in March, but it's been reduced to third here because we have Clay, Black, and Gray taking up the second spot. So we have Clay, Black, and Gray moving up to 8.8. We also have Clay Herods here at 8.5, and Big Clay with the biggest jump out of any of these decks, moving up to 8.35. That is a 0.77 increase from where it was last month. That is really cool. So Big Clay is on the move. We also have Joshua Black Gray at 7.9. Posties Joshua, also known as Banishing Act, at 7.55. Honestly, I think that should be bigger, but currently it's at 7.55. Clay CTB at 7.2. Soul Surfer at 7.11. Purple Heart at 7.0. Jay's Genesis at 6.5. And Green Soul Hide scraping at the bottom with 5.89. So some things to look at, some big drops here. Soul Surfer took a big drop in this week's set of polls, 0.68 drop. Joshua Black Gray took a drop. Purple Heart took a big drop, and Green Soul Hide took a drop. And the big notes for this this poll is Big Clay's with the biggest jump. No other deck had a jump compared to Big Clay in these poll results. Clay Black Gray had a small jump. Clay Harris had a small jump, but Big Clay with 0.77 jump is the most volatile thing we've seen here in terms of increasing. So otherwise, we're seeing pretty consistent results. People have a pretty consistent idea of what they think the decks are in the format, with Take being the big boogeyman of the format, the deck that everybody's looking to make sure that they're able to beat. But otherwise, it looks like we have a lot of options in this format, and I'm interested to see Last Stand get on here. I'm interested to see Clouds Over Philly get on here if the community feels that they're able to reach this setup here. But I'm excited for the forecast as we're going into Nationals soon.
Yeah, solid piece of information, or piece, maybe piece isn't the right word. Solid resource to get you some information, or a piece of your puzzle for deck building and things, just to analyze kind of. If nothing else, these are the quote-unquote meta threats that you should be able to expect to have to answer at some point. So if your deck doesn't do well against the top half of this list that, we've seen over 3 months now, the top half, like the consistent top half, whichever decks are in there, which are the Joshua Thieves, Nativity Herods, Clay, Black Gray, Joshua Gray Black, even Clay Herods, the ones that are around the top each time. If you don't have an idea of how you're going to handle each of those when you build your deck, you're potentially setting yourself up to have some rough encounters. And using something like this, I think, can be beneficial. It's not a complete, guarantee that you have to have an answer to these to do well, but it just gives you a little bit more information that you can use, a little bit more ammo for your deck building gun, so to speak. Yeah. And I think you mentioned on here that you thought that Banishment would do better. I think, and the game I played against Chris at Tennessee State, he was playing Type 1. He had Banishment built. Literally the first card he played down, I was like, "You're playing Banishment, aren't you?" And he was like, "Yeah." So I know he had reached out and asked about what deck to build and things. He wasn't seeing the big picture of necessarily how to play it, because the lines of play with that deck are a
lot more complicated.
They're a little bit more complex than just straightforward play. And I think maybe that lends itself to, I would say, anyone that rates that deck lower than what you or I probably feel like it should be. I feel like part of the justification for that is, yes, this deck is great in Jaden's hands, but it's kind of like Soul Surfer. It's great in Chad's hands, but then you put it in other people's hands. They don't get the same, potentially they wouldn't get the same results, or maybe you make an assumption that the deck, because of its potential complicated nature, is better in the hands of someone like Jaden versus, just being able to pick it up and play it. And maybe that leads to some lower results in this ranking system here. But I definitely think that one should be a little bit higher as well. That'd be my biggest takeaway. I think the other takeaway is, and I might be wrong for saying this, someone might say that I'm completely off my rocker, but I think one of the big things with like green Soulhide that's been, it's been down at the bottom of the list consistently, I think the whole time, is I think we're seeing a lot of, if you read between the lines, I think you can see play styles within the decks. And I think that deck requires you to play a certain play style. And I think people just in a broad stroke don't take to it as well as they would take to something like Clay Harrods or Nativity Harrods, that fast pace, up tempo, kind of being in control of, the game by just raw pace and how you're able to accumulate resources. And Green Soulhide is more of a let's throttle it down and play. And not to compare it with my deck I just played at Tennessee State, but I told people at Tennessee State, as I talked about it a little bit, is with the way the deck is built, I know that I'm facing turns where I'm potentially going to not even rescue because I don't have Soul Gen in the deck. And I did that knowing that I'm shooting for droughting them on the other side by not drawing and by being able to, if I have to give up a soul here early, but then I don't have other souls for them to rescue, using that to my advantage, not drawing into a bunch of souls because I'm doing concentrated searches versus draws. And I know I'd just fold to something like Nazareth or something like that, but not really expecting to see that. And so that was my idea when I played that, knowing that I might have to throttle my own tempo down and be okay with that in order to try to be competitive with that deck. And I think Green Soulhide has to play that way. And so I think if you start reading between the lines for some of these results, you start seeing the play style of each deck, and you start to see where the community feels on like certain play styles. Like decks that feel like a little bit more mid-range, feel like they're falling or they're lower in the polls. And the ones that are more the up-tempo, aggressive play style, I think is the ones that are seemingly doing a little bit better. So maybe I guess I take that away a little bit because Joshua, the take deck can be a little bit slower at times if it struggles to get out of the gate. But usually if you get it going, it's pretty good at having a good tempo while still being a pretty good controlling deck.
Yeah.
Do you see some of those same things with the play styles?
I do. You see some of these play styles. You see the themes that are powerful here. Like they get spread out and split apart between other decks. But yeah, you see these play styles. Joshua definitely, like people have sped it up, and there's a lot more aggro versions, and there's some slower versions and more aggro versions. There's versions that are looking to recur Promised Land a ton. There's some versions just using it as a once or twice thing. It's just a lot of different like variations on these decks here, and but you see a lot of different themes that are viable in this forecast. You see that you can run a different, like you can run a Clay offense, you can run a Joshua offense, you can run a Posties offense, you can run a Nativity offense, you could run a sort of stars like Chad's offenses are a little bit different than just Clay offenses, right? They're a little bit mixed around with stars and stuff. So there's all sorts of offenses, there's all sorts of defenses. You got Thieves, you got Edomites, you got Clay Black, you got Soulhide, you got all these types of different versions. Like we've seen Brown running around. I don't think it's on this this list, but there's a lot of cool things that you'll see in this forecast, and I think it's showing that there's a lot of room, especially with a 100 card deck in the format. There's a lot of room for innovation, and I'm really excited about that. That's really cool.
Yep, definitely. And I definitely think as we get closer to nationals, we're under 90 days away, so within the 3-month window to nationals, I think it becomes more and more valuable as we get closer to maybe especially that month right before Nationals, whenever we do try to get the July one knocked out. Maybe that one gets slanted towards, like mid-July voting so that it's the results are out before Nationals starts. But I think being able to see the voting, and maybe that picks up some of the meta shifts, because I don't think we've had any major meta shifts yet. I know that we've seen Big Clay come on the scene and start to push itself up, but I don't think the existence of Big Clay kills any other deck per se. And I don't think we've seen like the direct trend, which I thought at a certain point, and I know that the choose the blocker deck can overcome with different ways that you can build the deck. But I thought that the Chamber of Angels little combo that was baked into that deck, I thought it hurt it a lot more than has shown up in the voting here. Like I know that it hasn't been great, but I feel like that takes a pretty good punch of the tempo that deck can play to where it tries to race out and set up the choose the blocker scenario so that it can get 3 souls that way.
Yeah.
Because really that first turn is about setting it up, and then it's about creating the situation to where it's just a rinse and repeat, choose the blocker situation, and losing anything that helps the tempo to get up to there. I thought
is
so
really a huge death punch.
That's like the only thing I think that has been kind of one where I thought just we would see a deck tank, and we really haven't seen. Everything else has been kind of like a slower, steady drop off instead of just a major drop, like a spike in popularity for something up, or just a major drop. But the longer this goes, we have the chance to see some of that rise and fall with more dramatic matter. But it's also based on participation. So again, we need to have more participation to be able to get more opinions and things so that we get more accurate data and things. So that starts with me. I'll take it on the chin here. I haven't voted the last two times because I keep forgetting. So I will make sure to be early with my vote. Now that I've got a little bit more free time, I don't have to work so much overtime and things. Maybe you can hold me accountable and shoot me, hey, get your vote in right now.
You haven't voted yet.
So just if you're able to participate, do so, and that's going to help round that tool out and make it more valuable for everyone involved.
Now, it's your chance to join the podcast and have your voice heard as we get ready to answer your questions with this week's Community Mailbag.
Yeah, here we have this question. The game has made the game easier for new players with the recent rule changes and with new starter decks and such. What do you think is the best way for a new player to get plugged in and start playing once they understand the basics of the starter decks? Okay, this is a pretty good question here. What would you say to this?
I would say I definitely agree with the first. It was kind of a statement and then a question here. And the statement is that the game has become more simplified for new players, I guess, or easier. Maybe simplified and easier. I'm using those interchangeably. Maybe they're not. But I do think that a lot of the recent rule changes have, helped the onboarding process of a new player. And this is something that I guess with my current experience that I'm having with the game of new players coming to it, I can see a little bit of that. And maybe that's where this question is birthed, because the starter decks, they're great for showing the basics of the game. And then I think the fact that Roots is pretty accessible, and we're at the point to where Roots are, they're not at the, like, I've just got so many, I don't ever need any more level. But there's now, as an established player, I'm more picky about which Roots I keep out of, packs that I open. Like, I'm going to want the souls probably just because of however many decks I might want to build, having more souls.
Those good souls.
Some of the cooler enhancements that, were legacy rares at one point. So, like Death of Unrighteous, things like that. And so I think getting to see new players, like when I went to Mississippi with Eric and his group, seeing the kids plugged in and they have their starter deck and they're starting to collect Roots as their first set. I think that is kind of a cool little thing that there's so much that can be plugged into the starter decks. And then I think it kind of goes under the radar a little bit. I know I have been one of the biggest, complainers. I'll just say, I'll take it on the chin. I've been one of the bigger complainers about IR and the set, feeling like it's a weaker set. There's less modifiers, and then those ugly fat white borders. It's hard to look at. And that's not to continue just to rib the card designers or anything, but just, it's almost a little bit of the elephant in the room type of thing. But if you get past all that and you stop looking at it from the competitive lens of like, okay, I am a competitive player. I feel like I'm at the point to where I'm looking for like what can be the most competitive deck when I build decks. Get rid of that and just start thinking about it from a holistic approach of you can take the starter deck. So kid A and kid B one gets K, one gets L. Okay. Now they can start based on which deck they got. You can buy either set, but being able to have those kids spend $4 and $5 at a time on packs when they meet with their local play group to get IR to help with those decks and beef them up a little bit, and then II, and the fact that those themes, you've got the green prophets and the purple warriors. Whoever gets that deck probably wants to buy II so that they can get those cards that's going to beef up the themes that's in their deck. And then you have also being able to beef up, with the wilderness stuff. I think it's something that, like, I guess I glossed over as a competitive player, but being able to take the starter deck and actually pair it with those sets to have kids running around with modified versions of starter decks, playing at different levels and based on how much they've invested in learning the game, but then also how much they've invested in, like, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, can I get $5 to buy this pack from Eric who's selling them at church? Just using that as an example. And I think it's really cool to see how those can kind of blend together to make, competent decks. And I think that getting to see one of the newer guys to Chris's playgroup, Tate, that we mentioned, I believe, Tate Hunter, when we gave results, I played him in the last round of Type 1, and he ended up having a deck that had a lot of the starter deck cards still in it. And he had, obviously beefed it up with some cards from booster sets and things. But I think having the overall workings of that, and I guess I haven't truly acknowledged that as a competitive player, the benefits of that block set, the starter decks and the two Israel's booster sets working together to create kind of its own like pseudo format that these kids are able to play into, and using that and just saying that a new player could buy the starter deck and then start with those two sets plus the roots cards to start, adding on to their decks, I think is kind of the perfect way to get into, building your own deck after you've got the starter deck, because you're using something that you already own and not having to start from complete scratch of, oh, here's my card pool, let me start building a deck from ground zero. So that's something that I would say is kind of like maybe the next step of how to push towards, you figured out the basics of the starter decks and then just start modifying those. So what would you say?
I'm thinking like one of the best ways to get started after you understand just starter decks is sealed. And I know that is a little bit different of a way to talk about it, but like I like these limited formats as a way where like, it's up to me. Like, one of the things about like deck building online is you can ask people and people can give you 100 different like interpretations and their views and blah, blah, blah. But when you're in a limited event, it's actually up to you to figure out what to do with your deck, and you got to figure out how to make it, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have problems, but you're going to learn from those mistakes if you're paying attention, and you're going to learn how to start building your deck better. And you're going to play against players and you're going to see what they put in their decks. You're like, oh, that is a good include in the deck. I didn't think about that. And you're going to see those things play out as you play them. And that's what's nice about sealed is it changes your deck a little bit because there's a few things to add, but there's also like, you're also not playing against these full tournament decks. Like you're playing against another sealed deck with other booster cards added in. So you get to see how people are changing their deck and what they're filtering, and you can see what they put in their reserve and what they swap from their reserve to their main deck and vice versa. So I think that sealed is a really good way to start learning deck building after you've understood your sealed deck, and then later, even after that booster draft, that is a bit harder. Like you can have a really horrible time if you don't draft well. But if you start learning the draft well and you start looking at how people are drafting and start learning that, it helps you start being your own good deck builder there. And then of course, like you've got product to build your decks with afterwards. So that's where I started with my modern redemption collection. It started with sealed and booster draft, and I started just playing these games. And I know I didn't have decks to play against these guys type 1, but I had a booster draft because we're all on the same level drafting these booster decks, and I'm able to draft my deck and build my own deck and just try it out against them. So once you understand sealed, if you have the opportunity to play some tournaments and go to sealed and booster drafts, I think it's a really cool way to start learning how to play the game. And the final tip I would give trying to grow in deck building is start watching videos. Watch videos of Jaden, Tim, of other players in the community that are really good at explaining what they're doing and why they're doing it, and that'll help you out a lot in deck building. And I guess the fourth one I would add is check out the deck strategy section or the deck list section on the Discord, because lots of people are there willing to help you out and help you grow. But that's, I think, the 4 things I would recommend to somebody who is, I've nailed sealed decks down. What do I move on to? What do I move forward with? So that's what I'd say.
Yeah, I think definitely using, learning the starter decks and then using that as a launching point for playing the limited categories. That's kind of my, I don't know how much that directly impacted. I think he was going to come either way, probably just to get kind of an idea. But when I invited Eric to tag along when I went up to Kentucky State, I was like, dude, you got a starter deck. Like that's sealed, half a sealed right there. All you got to do is open a booster pack, maybe make some tweaks, but just playing the starter deck. So,
yeah. And
I think being able to learn the starter deck and use that as a launching point into playing sealed and things like that. And that's kind of another thing I've told Eric, if we end up being able to do the Mississippi State tournament, and maybe he doesn't feel like his kids are ready to do like the super competitive, type 1 or whatever, type 2, things like that. They don't have the cards for or whatever, but just young kids coming in and investing and getting a couple of booster packs here and there with their starter deck that they're modifying. They're forcing themselves right now to learn different card interactions that they're going to be able to see in the format of sealed and potentially booster. Obviously, booster is the next step up because you're starting from scratch when you're drafting those decks. But I think just using that as a launch point, and it's again something that doesn't immediately jump out at you as a competitive player, that these things are as seamless as they can be for a newer player to use this as the next step and progress that forward. But I think it's definitely beneficial to the game to have that kind of baked in. And I think seeing the rewards of having those new starter decks along with those Israel sets that, go along with those to build out those things and to use that as kind of just the stepping stone into that. And I guess one other thing that I will say, just because I it always comes back full circle to Your Turn Games having the best products on the market, right? Is if you are ready for that next step, you've built that starter deck, you can always go with, they've got 3 levels of pre-built decks. They've got the challenger decks, which are a little bit more starter deck style to where they're not full-on capable decks. They're more of, this is the theme and you can get these cards in a less robust way. And then you have the next step up, which is, a little bit more fully rounded out themes and whatnot in the contender decks. And then you have the champion decks. And the champion decks comes with all the full-on accessories. You get your custom play mat, all of that. So if you want to just jump head first, you can go buy one of those champion decks. But realistically, like challenger and contender decks can be the next step. If you're, you have the limited categories, you can do that. But if you just want to jump into, I want to get a deck that I like, and I've played enough of the starter decks and things like that to where I'm looking for a new theme or whatever, new play style completely, then that's another way that you can, take that next step. We've killed the 4th wall, and it's 9:21. I feel like we did it.
We get some good Star Wars talk in there too.
Yes.
That was good.
So we'll go ahead and leave you here. You got any words you want to leave with the people, Jake?
No, I just want to say it's a blessing to be around this community. Y'all make me smile frequently. Had someone message me on Discord and say that I helped them out a lot, and they did really well at their tournament, and they were excited to get better at redemption. I'm like, that's awesome. That makes me happy. So I love hearing that, and I'm just excited for this this year. We're just excited to be here in this redemption community.
Well, we're definitely glad to have you. So, guess we'll leave you here, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Threshing Floor Podcast. Help us grow our community by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're at it, be sure to subscribe or follow so you don't miss the next episode. And we'll talk to you next time on the Threshing Floor Podcast.